Hi everybody and welcome back to part 9 of Triumph of the Will. Boy, this has really been a long journey. From the middle of March when my school got kicked out for the rest of the year, and I did the first live stream of Triumph of the Will with my commentary that I normally would have done in class with students, to the massive reaction that I've gotten from posting that on YouTube, to now going back and teaching myself video production skills, as well as editing, sound design, lighting, and all of the other really interesting things that I've learned from this process. I want to take a minute and thank all of the fans who have not only subscribed to the channel, but also liked and watched this second series of the Triumph of the Will commentary. I'd like to extend a special thank you to Dr. Adolf Hitler from the German Bundesarchive, who granted me permission to post this commentary on YouTube because, as everybody likes to ask and nobody likes to read the actual response to, Triumph of the Will is in fact a copywritten piece of material that is owned by the Federal Republic of Germans. You cannot just post Triumph of the Will online without some sort of transformative work like my commentary videos. And for everybody who has left a comment, both positive and negative, I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to engage with my work. Today's episode is basically just Hitler's final speech to the 1934 Nazi Party Congress, and this will be the last video in this series. If you like it, hit the thumbs up button, leave a comment down below giving me your thoughts and reactions to this video, subscribe to the channel, and share with at least one friend so that my channel continues to grow. So without any further ado, let's check it out. So here we are, at the climax to Triumph of the Will. The Führerprinzip has now been fulfilled, and all we have and all we need is Adolf Hitler front and center leading as the Führer. This is the entire point of Triumph of the Will, is to put the nation at ease because Hitler is that supreme leader that they believe is needed and necessary for Germany to be unified and successful. The wrongs of the past will be undone, and a bright future will be created by the party. The military nature of Triumph of the Will, but especially in this last scene, is critically important to understanding its message and its technique of propaganda. By showing that Hitler is basically the supreme general of our nation army, it creates the imperative for all individual people to fall in line and follow orders as good soldiers are supposed to do. Here in the Party Congress, it is no different from disorganization and disunity with the plots within the SA. We now have bridged the gap between SA and SS, remilitarized everything under the leadership of Hitler, and now Leni Riefenstahl is trying to show us that we are marching towards the brighter future.
Es spricht der Führer. Der 6. Parteitag der Bewegung geht zu Ende. Was für Millionen Deutsche, die außerhalb unserer Reihen stehen, vielleicht nur als imposantestes Schauspiel politischer Machtentfaltung gewertet wird, war für die Hunderttausende der Kämpfer unendlich mehr. Das große persönliche und geistige Treffen der alten Streiter und Kampfgenossen. Und vielleicht hat mancher unter ihnen trotz der zwingenden Großartigkeit dieser Herrscher unserer Partei sich wehmütigen Herzens zurückbesonnen in jene Tage, da es noch schwer war, Nationalsozialist zu sein.
This is kind of a strange thing for Hitler to say. Some of you want to think back kind of in a vaguely longing fashion for the good old days when we were the out group and when it was difficult to be a National Socialist. He's trying to draw a contrast between those people who are interested in the struggle, like Ernst Röhm, who has just been liquidated, and those who now realize the fulfillment of the 23-point program to try to start creating the world as Hitler has envisioned it.
Als unsere Partei gerade 7 Mann hoch war, sprach sie schon 2 Grundsätze aus. Erstens, sie wollte eine wahrhaftige Weltanschauungspartei sein. Und zweitens, sie wollte daher kompromisslos die einzige Macht und alleinige Macht in Deutschland.
There's 2 things that I want to highlight about this particular set of lines from Hitler. The first one is how he became a National Socialist. He was originally hired by the government of Munich to infiltrate the National Socialist Democratic Workers' Party to report back to that government what its activities were. After attending several meetings, he decided he agreed with the ideology and became its leader. So that's kind of ironic that he talks about back in the good old days in the beginning when there were only 7 of us, as if he is somehow A, an original member, and B, has been deeply devoted to it from the very beginning. The second part of this set of lines that really needs a little bit of fleshing out is the part about wanting National Socialism to be the uncompromisingly powerful group within Germany. This is key and fundamental, and actually something that doesn't get played up very much within the rest of Triumph of the Will. National Socialism stands in diametric opposition to the principles of the Enlightenment, which means individualism, the rule of law, constitutionalism, and democratic forms of government. National Socialists look at democracies and they say that ultimately, because of the requirement to compromise and the fact that democracies take a long time to enact policy, that authoritarian dictatorship is far preferred under the leadership of a singular dictator, because ultimately things will get done and problems will be solved. Nazis think that democracies are unable to solve very large problems. It's interesting because the other group of people that really lays this criticism at the feet of democracies is communism. Communism looks at democracy and says that it's an instrument of the haves versus the have-nots, and the only way to fix that system is to violently rise up and overthrow the system.
Wir mussten als Partei in der Minorität bleiben, weil wir die wertvollsten Elemente des Kampfes und des Opfersinns in der Nation mobilisierten, die zu allen Zeiten nicht die Mehrheit, sondern die Minderheit ausgemacht haben. Und weil dieser beste Rassenwert der deutschen Nation in einer stolzen Selbsteinschätzung, mutig und kühn die Führung des Reiches und Volkes forderte, hat das Volk sich in immer größerer Zahl dieser Führung angeschlossen und unterstellt. Das deutsche Volk ist glücklich in dem Bewusstsein, dass die ewige Flucht der Erscheinungen nunmehr endgültig abgelöst wurde von einem ruhenden Pol. Der sich als Träger seines besten Blutes fühlen und dieses wissend.
In terms of pure political philosophy, this is where Nazism really gets to be very strange. It's a combination of the scientific racism of the 19th century, coming from people like Oswald Spengler, who hypothesized that the West was in decline and downfall as a result of the pollution of the pure blood of people from Western Europe. Now, in the meantime, all of this nonsense has been completely and totally discredited by things like the field of genetics. Science is one reason why Nazism is completely and totally nonsensical. The idea that a unified nation is somehow entitled to rights in and of itself as a result of the unity and purity of their blood is complete and total nonsense. When we add to this the misapplication of Charles Darwin's theory of evolution through means of natural selection, people in the 19th century applied that, or rather misapplied that, to societies in what was called social Darwinism. Because they could scientifically identify what they referred to as Untermenschen, subhumans, people who they thought were less evolutionarily developed than themselves, they also looked at it from the point of view that said, no one cries when the lion eats the wildebeest. When our society feeds off of the lesser societies, according to their perspective, ultimately that is not only a good thing, it is a natural thing, and it is an amoral thing. It's not good or bad, it is just the way the world works. Because we can now genetically determine that the entire concept of races is really null and void, that means there are no Untermenschen. And because there are no Untermenschen, the whole idea of social Darwinism completely and totally falls apart. And that is the major cornerstone of Nazism. Germans and Aryans are under attack from Untermenschen all over the world, and so we have to rally and unify and exert our influence over our own national self-determination. It's built on crackpot science that doesn't really work and doesn't really go anywhere, and that's why as a political ideology and a political philosophy, it fails.
Zur Führung der Nation erhoben hat und entschlossen ist, diese Führung zu behalten, wahrzunehmen und nicht mehr abzugeben. Es wird stets nur ein Teil eines Volkes aus wirklich aktiven Kämpfern bestehen. Von ihnen wird mehr gefordert als von den Millionen der übrigen Volksgenossen. Für sie genügt nicht die bloße Ablegung des Bekenntnisses, ich glaube, sondern der Schwur, ich kämpfe.
This bit is so critically important because I see this so often today from movements that have developed from the anti-enlightenment of the late 19th century and early 20th century. People who want to make justice a performative thing where you have to behave in a certain way to be a just person. It is not enough to simply have good ideas. You must act in a certain way. You must think in a certain way. This is what all of the anti-enlightenment movements have ultimately arrived at, a performative public justice that has very little social and civic value and virtue in favor of simply performing the expected social behaviors.
Die Partei wird für alle Zukunft die politische Führungsauslese des deutschen Volkes sein. Sie wird in ihrer Lehre unveränderlich, in ihrer Organisation stahlhart, in ihrer Taktik schmiegsam und anpassungsfähig, in ihrem Gesamtbild aber wie ein Orden sein. Das Ziel aber muss sein, alle anständigen Deutschen werden Nationalsozialisten. Nur die besten Nationalsozialisten sind Parteigenossen. haben unsere Gegner dafür gesorgt, dass durch Verbot und Verfolgungswellen von Zeit zu Zeit die Bewegung wieder ausgekämmt wurde von dem leichten Zeug, das sich bei ihr einzufinden begann. Heute als Musterung halten und abstoßen, was sich als schlecht erwiesen hat und deshalb innerlich nicht zu uns gehört. Es ist unser Wunsch und Wille, dass dieser Staat und dieses Reich bestehen sollen in den kommenden Jahrtausenden. Wir können glücklich sein zu wissen, dass diese Zukunft restlos uns gehört. Wenn die älteren Jahrgänge noch wanken werden könnten, die Jugend ist uns verschrieben und verfallen mit Leib und mit Seele. Nur dann, wenn wir in der Partei durch unser aller Zutun die höchste Verkörperung des nationalsozialistischen Gedankens und Wesens verwirklichen, wird sie eine ewige und unzerstörbare Säule des deutschen Volkes und Reiches sein. Dann wird einst neben die herrliche, ruhmreiche Armee den alten, stolzen Waffenträgern unseres Volkes die nicht minder traditionsgefestigte politische Führung der Partei treten. Und dann werden diese beiden Einrichtungen gemeinsam den deutschen Menschen erziehen und festigen und auf ihren Schultern tragen den deutschen Staat, das Deutsche Reich. In dieser Stunde verlassen schon wieder Zehntausende von Parteigenossen die Stadt, während aber die einen noch von der Erinnerung zehren, werden andere schon wieder beginnen zu rüsten zum nächsten Appell. Und wieder werden die Menschen kommen und gehen und stets aufs Neue ergriffen, beglückt und begeistert sein. Denn die Idee und die Bewegung sind Lebensausdruck unseres Volkes und damit ein Symbol des Ewigen. Es lebe die nationalsozialistische Bewegung, es lebe Deutschland!
And there you have it. He completely and totally lays out his point of view and his perspective on how to run a country. Now, what that means is there's only really two things left. Number one, we have to fawn over Hitler for a while, and Rudolf Hess doing his best bromance is one of the creepiest things I've ever seen on film. And then we're going to end this with a little song called the Horst Wessel Song, in memory of a National Socialist who was allegedly killed in defense of the movement.
Die Partei ist Hitler. Hitler aber ist Deutschland, wie Deutschland Hitler ist. Hitler, Sieg! Sieg! Sieg!
The final scene is the forces of National Socialism marching in, you got it, a parade to the Horst Wessel song, having achieved the triumph of Hitler's will and marching on to the brighter future that he promised them. Now, of course, no video about National Socialism would be complete without acknowledging the horrific cost of this image and the fact that German people believed it. Now, as I have tried to express countless times, I think they had a good reason to believe it. Germany was in bad shape. The Depression hit them hard, and the Treaty of Versailles treated them horribly. They were in dire straits, and they were looking for a Superman to come and save them. The problem is the Superman that they chose turned out to be a Superman who could not deliver what he promised, and the cost of trusting him was incalculable. So one last time, I would like to thank everybody who has stuck with me through both iterations of this project and all 9 videos in this series. Thank you for your views. Thank you for your likes. Thank you for your subscriptions and comments and support. If you liked this particular episode, please give me a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, subscribe to the channel, and share this video and the rest of the series with at least one friend. Thank you so much, everybody. I really cannot express how overwhelmed I am by the response that I've gotten on YouTube, and I do hope to continue doing projects like this in the future. With my deepest admiration to all of you, I'll see you in the next one.